From the age of 1, I lived with my grandparents in the countryside. My grandfather was no ordinary man. He possessed a strange and mysterious ability. Whenever someone faced an inexplicable dilemma, they would come to my grandfather for help. All he needed to do was pour a small amount of white liquor into a bowl, gently swirl it around, and stare at the liquid surface. Somehow, he could see things that others couldn't. Word spread in our town about his abilities, and soon, people were coming to our home in droves, seeking his help. But despite his growing reputation, my grandfather never took money or gifts. He helped people simply to solve their problems, not for personal gain. This peaceful life took a drastic turn when I was in my 3rd year of middle school. My grandfather was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. Though surgery saved his life, my family believed it was the consequence of his years of using that mysterious ability. They forbade him from helping others, telling everyone that he had lost his powers. From then on, my grandfather's life grew quiet and somber. His once vibrant eyes now seemed distant, lost in thoughts he never shared. I would sometimes catch him staring at the old wooden bowl, the one he used for his readings, with a look of deep sorrow, as if he knew something we didn't. The summer of my freshman year in college marked another turning point, one that I will never forget. My grandfather passed away that summer. Although we all knew death was inevitable, his passing left a heavy weight on us. Strangely, just a few days after his death, during the Ghost Festival, I had an incredibly vivid dream. It was so real that when I woke up, I could still feel the chill of the night air on my skin. In the dream, I was back in our old house, and there was my grandfather, standing at the foot of the stairs. His eyes, once so full of life, now bore a deep, unsettling concern. The house was dimly lit, the kind of dimness that makes shadows seem to dance in the corners of your vision. He pointed to the stairs and asked me if I could see something there. His voice was calm, but there was an urgency beneath it, like he needed me to understand something crucial. I immediately took out my phone to take a picture, having heard that sometimes phones could capture things invisible to the naked eye. My hands trembled as I focused on the stairs. The moment the photo appeared on the screen, my heart nearly stopped. There were several small, shadowy figures standing on the stairs, their forms blurred yet disturbingly real. They weren't human, at least not anymore. Their shapes were twisted, as if whatever they once were had been warped by something unspeakable. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, laced with fear. My grandfather responded calmly, "Take another look at the bowl of liquor." His tone was so matter-of-fact, as if this was something he had dealt with many times before. It was as if he knew what they were, and the thought that he had kept such things hidden from us all these years made my blood run cold. In the dream, I seemed to have forgotten that my grandfather had passed away. I almost begged him, "Please don't look anymore. It's too dangerous." But he simply replied with a sigh, "There's no choice just this last time." As soon as he said those words, I woke up, my body cold and my heart pounding. The lingering fear from the dream stayed with me, a heavy weight in my chest. The days that followed were filled with unease. Despite the summer sun, there was a coldness that clung to me, like a shadow I couldn't shake. During the summer break, I returned to the countryside to stay with my grandmother. The old house seemed different, as if the very walls held a secret they refused to share. Despite my grandfather's passing, I always felt like he was still watching over us, but there was something else, to something darker. One night, after a date with my high school sweetheart, I was walking home along a stretch of unlit road. Even though I had walked this road countless times before, that night, an inexplicable fear gripped me. The air felt thicker. Every rustle of the leaves made my heart jump. It felt as though a pair of unseen eyes were watching me, following my every step. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, casting the world into an oppressive darkness. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have, as if the silence around me was amplifying them. I quickened my pace, each step heavier than the last, and soon I was nearly running. When I reached home, something strange happened. Our family cat, upon seeing me, suddenly bolted as if it had seen something terrifying. Its eyes, wide with fear, caught the faint light from the house, and I could see the reflection of something dark behind me. My breath hitched, and I spun around. But there was nothing there, only the empty road and the dense forest beyond. Trying to shake off the fear, I approached our dog, hoping for some comfort. But when I reached out to pet it, the dog tucked its tail and retreated into its kennel, whimpering as it went. An uneasy feeling settled over me, creeping up my spine, but I hurried inside, took a shower, and went to bed, hoping sleep would bring some relief. That night, it wasn't even 9 p.m. when I started hearing strange noises outside my room. At first, I thought it was just the game I was playing on my phone, but the sounds became more distinct, like chains dragging on the ground, followed by the unmistakable noise of someone digging in the dirt just outside the house. The sound was relentless, rhythmic, as if whatever was digging had a purpose. I turned off the game and listened closely. The sound seemed to surround the house, echoing from every direction. It was as if the very air was alive with these noises, wrapping around the walls, pressing in. Suddenly, our dog started barking furiously, its growls low and menacing, as if it were confronting something just beyond the light's reach. My grandmother, who had already gone to bed, woke up and shouted at the dog to be quiet, but the barking continued, growing weaker and weaker until it finally stopped. The silence that followed was deafening, filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. Worried, I grabbed a flashlight and ran to my grandmother's room. From her window, I shone the light down towards the dog's kennel. What I saw made my blood run cold. The dog was lying there, completely still, as if life had drained out of it. There were no visible wounds, no signs of struggle, just a quiet, lifeless body. The next day, our neighbor gave us a small female dog they no longer wanted. I hoped this would bring some normalcy back to our lives, but the strange occurrences didn't stop. That night, I went to bed early, too exhausted and anxious to stay up. But once again, I heard the same noises as before. The dragging chains, the digging, only this time it was louder, closer. The new dog started barking, but just like the previous night, the barking grew faint and eventually ceased. The silence that followed was suffocating, pressing in on me from all sides. I grabbed my flashlight again, heart pounding, and went to check the kennel. The new dog was lying there, lifeless, just like the one before. It didn't make sense. How could this be happening again? Terrified, I rushed to my grandmother and told her what had happened. We spent the rest of the night sleepless, scattering lime and salt around the house in a desperate attempt to ward off whatever was haunting us. My grandmother was praying under her breath, her hands shaking as she clutched the rosary. At dawn, she went to see the village shaman. The shaman performed some rituals and gave us protective talismans to carry for a whole year. I could see the fear in the shaman's eyes too, though she tried to hide it behind words of comfort. Strangely enough, after that, the eerie events ceased, as if the malevolent force had finally left us. But to this day, whenever night falls, I can't help but remember that some of the fear that lurked in the endless darkness, the sense that something was always just out of sight, watching, waiting. Perhaps some things never truly leave. Perhaps there are forces beyond our understanding that slip through the cracks between worlds, and once you've encountered them, they never really let you go. As the story comes to a close, it leaves us with some chilling questions. Have you ever experienced something you just couldn't explain? Do you believe that certain places or objects can hold mysterious, even malevolent, powers? Share your thoughts and any eerie experiences you've had in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more spine-tingling tales. And remember, the next time you feel something watching you from the shadows, it might not just be your imagination. If you like such stories, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more real and thrilling stories. Thank you for watching.